The following interview is being conducted as part of the Price of Freedom Oral History Series, sponsored by the Madison County Military Heritage Commission. Our goal is to inform the public of the sacrifices made by veterans in our community on battlefields around the world. Each veteran interviewed received a Valor Award for their heroism during combat and is a member of the Military Heritage Hall of Heroes. We wish to thank the Huntsville School System and the ETV Broadcast Center for their help in presenting this military heritage program. Today our conversation will be with retired U.S. Army Colonel Mike Boyd. Colonel Boyd is the recipient of the Bronze Star Medal with Valor for his heroic actions while serving in Vietnam in 1967. He also received 2 Purple Heart medals for wounds suffered during combat. Mike Boyd served 27 years in the Army and was inducted into the Madison County Military Heritage Hall of Heroes in 2021. Mike, it's good to have you with us, sir.
Thank you, sir.
For your time today.
It's good to be here.
Yes,
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. First of all, as we always do, we'd like to get you to tell us a little about where you're from. Where were you raised up, and that sort of thing.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Tom. It really is. I was born in Evansville, Indiana as a Hoosier when my dad was stationed in England in World War II with the 8th Air Force. He came home, and from there we moved to a couple of places around the states after the war was over with. I have some memories of a base in Texas where he was, in Fort Bragg, and then memories become a little more clear going to Japan for a year or two, Washington, D.C., Fort Worth, Texas, Germany.
You did a lot of traveling.
Did, and so when you ask me where we're from and all over, it's kind of every zip code you can imagine. Dad was a career soldier. He didn't go in until the war started in 1942. So after he got in and after the war was over, he decided he would just stay, and he did. Made a career of it, went to work for Bell Helicopter in Fort Worth, Texas, and then finally retired in Texas. And he and Mother bought a place in Kerrville and used to go back and forth between Kerrville and Colorado Springs, depending on the weather. And then I went to Mississippi State. I got a scholarship for out-of-state tuition there and joined the ROTC program. And I think my background with Dad and our experiences moving around all over the place probably had a lot to do with that. But I had already decided I thought I wanted to try to make a career of the military when I went to state. Vietnam was just beginning at that time, 1962. And at Mississippi State, they had an ROTC flight training program. And so I participated in that in my senior year, got my wings, did my private pilot's license.
You're a distinguished military graduate, I want to mention
that. I had some good tutors along the way.
Good.
But it was, the program was fun. The ROTC program was fun. I went to basic camp at Fort Bragg. The flying was just an added benefit. I majored in accounting and auditing, which taught me that I didn't want to sit behind a desk adding up numbers for the rest of my life. And that just pushed me even more toward an outdoor life, which the Army brought in spades. Graduated in May of '66. First assignment was down to Fort Hood, Texas. And I trained with those folks and a platoon sergeant who taught me everything about tanks because I went into armor. As a DMG, I had to serve 2 years or a year with with a combat arm. And aviation branch had not yet been formed at that time, and so I picked armor and went to Fort Hood.
But had aspirations at a later time, maybe, to go into aviation.
Oh no, yes, absolutely. When I was in Vietnam and that first tour, where I got the Valor Award and both Purple Hearts during that first tour, and it convinced me even more I needed to get off the ground and in the air because I was pretty sure I'd be coming back. And I wasn't wrong about that. So came back, went to flight school, started out in fixed wing, went to aviation maintenance officer's course, went back to Fort Rucker, transitioned into rotary wing helicopters, and from there back to Vietnam. And I was assigned to a Cobra unit with the 101st Airborne, 4th of 77th ARA. It was different in a lot of respects. It was enlightening. And at that time, I was stationed up close to the DMZ at Hue Phu Bai, where the 101st Airborne base camp was.
Let's go back just a little bit,
Sure.
Mike. We'll catch up with that in just a moment. But
Okay.
now, your dad was in the military, and did you have brothers and sisters that followed you in the military as well? Yeah.
No, I had 3 younger sisters.
Yeah.
I was the
Okay.
only boy.
Okay.
And you can imagine the oldest son always being taunted about being the favored one with mom and dad,
Yeah.
because I was first, I was the son, I was
Yeah.
the oldest.
Right.
But the 3 of them were great folks, and still are today.
Right.
I had a sister that started at Mississippi College and went to Mississippi State and became Miss Mississippi State.
Wow.
She got all the looks in the family. And then I have 2 more sisters. One now lives in Roswell, New Mexico. The oldest sister lives in Austin, Texas. And I have the youngest sister is married to a Presbyterian minister trying to straighten all the rest of us out, and they live in Kansas City, and of course they're rooting for the Chiefs. But it was a fun family. It was a great family.
Now, your dad, was he in tanks or aviation when
He was in aviation.
Okay, yeah.
He thought that in 1947, after the war and everything was over with, they had the National Security Act that created the Air Force. He didn't think the Air Force was going to last, so he decided he would stay with the Army. And of course, the Air Force lasted and has done quite well, and he stayed with the Army. But he stayed with Army Aviation
I see.
Throughout that time, from assignments in the Pentagon to the Aviation Systems Command that was in St. Louis before it moved down here some 20 years ago now almost. And that's kind of my reasoning for doing what I did. But the biggest reason I enjoyed aviation, I went into aviation logistics and got to use my accounting background. I got a master's degree in business and got involved in aviation logistics and support and the cost benefit analysis of different ways to support a system.
You're on in school a lot.
Yeah, it probably longer than it should have. You talk about here.
Right. Now tell us a little bit, Mike, about when you, what outfit were you in, on your first tour in tanks? What outfit and what were you doing and so forth? What was your job?
I was assigned to the 11th Armored Cav Regiment, based at Swan Lock, Vietnam, which was, 65, 70 miles east of Saigon. What a great unit, absolutely wonderful. Black Horse. They still have a critical mission today, and I'm proud that they are my home regiment. But I was assigned to K Troop 3rd Squadron and as a platoon leader. And once again, I was told, okay, this is your platoon sergeant, and he will teach you what to do and how to do. So be sure to listen to what he's saying.
Sure. Yeah.
And we had normal search and clear missions, rescue missions, just intelligence gathering missions, and convoy escort support.
Well, when you first got to Vietnam, Mike, what was it pretty much as you had imagined? You know, you'd heard about Vietnam, read about it, saw it on TV, or the stories about Vietnam. What was your impression when you first got there?
Well, to be honest with you, when that 707 landed in Saigon at Tan Son Nhut Air Base, it was dark. It was at night. And so I didn't get to see anything.
Yeah.
But as soon as I stepped off the plane, I could smell Vietnam, and it was different than anything I'd ever known.
And it was hot. It was hot.
It was hot. And I didn't really get to see anything of Vietnam itself until about 2 or 3 weeks later, after I'd gone through some additional training, in-country training. And then I got my assignment to the 11th Armored Cav and went out to their base camp. Actually joined a convoy escort from Saigon to their base camp. And I got to talk with the platoon leader during that escort mission, and some of the things to look for, what to watch out for. That was another learning experience. He was sharing with me what he had learned about looking along the side of the road and what's
Passing
going
along
on
the
here.
experience. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was in January of '67.
Yeah.
But no, it was, I don't know what I thought it was, except I knew it had a lot to do with jungles. But very hard to imagine what it was other than what I had already seen in news clips and
You had to
some
adapt pretty quick
documentaries.
over there, didn't you?
I beg your pardon, sir?
You had to adapt pretty quick.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah.
That's true.
What about the accommodations, Mike? Did you get to sleep in barracks on the ground or in a tent or what?
We slept in something that was similar to a tent. It had a wooden floor, wooden sides, and a great big tent over the top, and on cots. When we were in base camp.
Right.
If we were out on a mission, the mission could last anywhere from a week to 3 weeks, and it was on the ground.
Yeah.
And sea rations occasionally, or most of the time.
Flavorful.
Always. But when we were in base camp, we would get hot meals.
Yeah. And that was always welcome.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Mike, I want you to tell us about the mission you were on that led to you receiving the Bronze Star Medal with Valor. I understand now you're out on escort duty, I believe you had mentioned. Tell us about that action.
It was actually just a simple convoy escort. We were out on a mission from the base camp, and we were escorting a convoy back to the 11th Cab base camp to pick up some supplies and then go back. We were probably about halfway distance-wise from our outpost to the 11th Cab base camp when we ran into an ambush. Ambushes are set up almost like an L shape in a tactical situation, and the bottom of the L is supposed to cross the road and block the traffic, the enemy from getting through, and the long side of the L is parallel to the road or whatever, and that constitutes the kill zone. Well, this ambush was set up for an ARVN, a Republic of Vietnam Army battalion, and we came up through the bottom of the L, and so they were not expecting that, they being the enemy, Viet Cong. And we went up through the bottom of the base of the L, and when they opened fire, we tried to get out of the kill zone as quickly as we could. I had been in a couple of firefights before, but this was pretty dramatic. They discovered later that it was a reinforced North Vietnamese battalion, and they had been reinforced to take out this Army of Vietnam Army battalion.
And you were outnumbered, what, 13 to 1?
13 to 1 was the final intelligence estimates. The vehicles that we rode in, the tactical vehicles, were armored personnel carriers, 113s, and they had been modified to put a 50 caliber machine gun up front where the cupola was, command cupola, and a 60 caliber machine gun on each side. And we had, this is going way back now, Tom, maybe 8 or 9 of those vehicles that we were using to escort a very small convoy. So we had our own firepower, and as soon as we started receiving fire, then all of them started returning fire. It was the classic, what I had heard for quite some time. Vietnam was pure boredom, punctuated with moments of absolute stark terror. I don't know how to describe it any better than that. You don't think about what you're doing, you just react because that's the way you've been trained, and folks were just doing their job. I do remember giving orders, telling folks how to maneuver out of the kill zone while still engaging the enemy.
Now, were you wounded? You were wounded during this action.
I was.
Were you wounded then, or was it shortly thereafter that you were wounded?
No, it was during this action.
I see.
That was my second time.
I see. Yes, sir.
But it still becomes a life-changing experience when you're shooting at someone who's shooting at you. And when you know that you have hit someone and you have killed another human being, it is not something that you ever forget. I am totally amazed at the apparent callous disregard for human life that we're experiencing right now in some of our larger cities, how people can just walk up with a gun and start shooting at people. Our situation was that the enemy was camouflaged as farmers.
They were like working in the field?
Working in their rice fields, and when they saw us come there, whoever their commander was said, "Change, change, change." They threw down their hoes and rakes and picked up their weapons and started shooting. It was not more than 3 or 4 minutes, I would guess, into the action when I took an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade round, through the side of my track, and it sprayed me in both legs and my left arm. I had a couple of crewmen inside that were injured pretty seriously. And the other vehicles were receiving the same kind of fire. Started trying to counter the fire, and there was no sense in trying to counterattack. You could tell it was a very large force. The idea was to get out of the kill zone and continue to fire, but at the same time rescue any folks that you possibly could from other damaged vehicles that were in the convoy or in my platoon.
Right.
We were fortunate in a number of us, a large number of us were able to get out, but there were some who did not, and as I've told another interviewer, my thoughts and prayers are with their families even to this day.
How many did you lose in that action?
I was told 16. That's the number that I recall. I have not talked about this for a very long time.
I understand.
This is May of 1967, and of course this is January of 2022. I had just kind of let it be and go on with the rest of my life until I got out of the Army, to be honest with you, and I went to work for CAS, Bill Stender and Fred Clark.
Right.
And Bill was a Duster unit commander in Vietnam, and so he understood Vietnam very well. We were having lunch one day and started talking about my experiences, just as pretty much we're doing now. And when he found out that I'd been wounded, had been the recipient of 2 Purple Hearts and a Bronze Star, then he's the one that started figuring out how my story should be told to the Madison County Military Heritage Commission. Right. I owe a lot to both Bill and Fred. They're not only good friends, but they were great mentors in civilian life.
You're now wearing the medal that you received.
Yes, in the induction ceremony, which was just this past November.
Right.
I'm unbelievably honored to be a part of that. There are no words to express it, but at the same time, I must be honest with you, it has brought back some memories that I put away a long time ago. I could go deer hunting, I could go squirrel hunting when I was in college. I was never good enough to hit a dove or a duck. But after you kill another human being, that just doesn't seem to be any point in that anymore. And so I don't hunt. I do like to fish, and haven't done it in quite some time because I'm trying to do something about my golf game, which needs
Need some
911
improvement,
help.
yeah. As most people, yeah, I can
But
understand.
yeah, we got out of the ambush, and I was taken to a field hospital at the 11th Cav base camp. I was there for about 4 days, I would think, as best I can remember. Then I was evacuated to a hospital in Saigon, and a couple of days after I was evacuated to that point, I was evaluated for what can we do for this guy here and what do we need to send him away for. Well, part of my injuries in the legs was some nerve damage in my right foot because of my right ankle got hit.
Uh-huh.
And of course, I didn't have physical therapy or anything like that available. So I was evacuated to the 249th General Hospital in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed there for about 2.5 months. And some unbelievably skilled medical folks. I owe them a lot because I was able to pass a flight physical when they finished with
Wow.
me. And I knew I wanted to fly.
Right.
At that point, it could have been with the Army, it could have been with Delta Airlines. I didn't care. I wanted to fly.
Right.
So they said, okay, he's in good shape, throw him back in the fray. So I went back to Vietnam. And at that time, my detail to a combat arm, to armor, had run out. And so I was reassigned to a support battalion in the 34th General Support Group. And trying to remember the Vietnamese city that we were close to. It was south of Da Nang, way south of Da Nang. But
Right.
I felt comfortable there because we had a South Korean base camp there.
Uh-huh.
And the South Korean soldiers are some of the very best in the world. And so finished out my tour, came back, went to flight school, went to maintenance officer school, went back to flight school, started in fixed wing, then went to maintenance course, then came back, did rotary wing transition. And they said, okay, send him back. So I went back.
Do you have any lingering effects from the wounds, Mike, to this day?
Most of them are over with. I have scars that are visible on both my arms and legs. And up until about 10 or 15 years ago, which was an inordinate amount of time from May of '67, you could see the shrapnel that was still inside.
Really? Okay.
I'd take an X-ray and you'd see these little shiny spots all over the place.
Well, you had a problem going through an airport, probably.
Well, I don't now because most of them have worked their way out.
Yeah.
They would show up, as a little irritation spot, and there'd be a little black spot right in the middle of it, and you just pick out that piece of shrapnel, and then it heals up.
Yeah.
Now, my only slow up in an airport right now is I have a pacemaker.
I see. Okay.
But yeah.
Before we go any further, in your career, I'd like to ask you some of the things that a lot of our students ask us, talk to us about, when these programs go into the classroom. Many of the students who watch our Hall of Heroes series almost always ask about, is it okay to be scared or afraid during combat? How would you answer that, Mike?
If you're not scared or afraid, there's something wrong with you. Absolutely, because someone out there somewhere is trying to do you harm. And all you have to do is look at some of our folks who have come home from Afghanistan and Iraq.
Right.
Very brave veterans who've lost legs or arms or both. That's, killing is one thing, but being injured for the rest of your life like that, just the idea of that happening to you when you go into combat is enough to get your senses up,
Sure.
if you will, and I don't think I met anybody in Vietnam that was not concerned for their welfare. I guess that's another way of saying they were scared. But you learn how to manage that, and you learn how to manage your senses and control them to a point where you are alert, but you don't overtax yourself into fatigue where you can't protect yourself until it's time for you to relax. And I guess that's where the term R&R, rest and recuperation, came from. But no, it's not at all, in my mind, it's not at all like what you see in the movies with Rambo and so forth.
That sort of thing.
It just, no.
Well, it's along the same vein. This question would be along the same vein. What about the stress of combat, being in the war zone for a length of time? How do you handle that?
Well, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's Vietnam, and I presume any war zone is pretty much pure boredom punctuated with severe moments of stark terror. Once the terror is over with and you calm down again, it's you take stock of where you are and what you're doing and so forth. It's not really that much different than everyday life. The stresses and the strains that we run into are certainly not akin to the hostile shooting and whatnot that goes on in a war zone. But people face stress in their life every single day, and how you manage that stress tells a lot about who you are and what you think and what you believe in. It's not really that much different. I was very fortunate when I was in Japan. Not only were they fixing what was wrong in my arms and legs and ankle, I was able to talk with folks who already understood PTSD and talk it through to a point where I could say, okay, I understand what happened and I don't like what happened, but I understand it happened and why it happened.
Have to deal with
and
it.
what was my role in it. And so, as I said, I just kind of set that back in the back of my head for 20-something years, 25 years. More than that, because it was a little after I've retired that Bill and I were at lunch one day when he was asking me about this. And Bill and Fred both they are great friends. They're great teachers. They're great mentors.
Good.
My dad was my first one before I even met him. The day I was born in 1944, he was in England, and he wrote me a 5-page letter by hand, which I still have, and it's sealed up in a plastic bag and in a safe deposit box.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Where he gave me some lessons to think about for life. And the first lesson was always remember that your mother is your very best friend, and she always will be. And the second thing was, whatever you decide to do, give yourself to it. Don't go in half-hearted.
Right.
And if I were to talk to your elementary students, I would tell them the same thing. Your family can be your very best friend. Treat them with love and respect. And whatever you decide to do, whether it is to be a policeman, a fireman, or run a corporation, or be in the military, devote yourself to it. Be the very best that you can. Don't do it halfway, because you'll never really be happy. Our pastor at Willowbrook used a phrase that was one Sunday morning. It's probably the best management and life lesson I think I've ever heard. I'm not afraid of failing. I'm just afraid of succeeding at a bunch of little things that don't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
And I would say that is something that you could apply to anything that you do in your life, whether it is your career, your family, your children, your folks.
Means a lot. Yeah, yeah. Very good. Mike, we're going to move on. You mentioned about you transferred over to aviation. We'll pick up from there. I want you to tell us about your training. What was the toughest thing about learning to fly? Did you start out like in helicopters or fixed wing?
No,
or what?
I went to fixed wing school, and it was really pretty easy, the first phase of it, because I had ROTC flight training.
Okay.
I already had a private pilot's license, and it had been some while since I'd actually had a chance to fly.
So you had some experience going into it. That helped. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But coming back from Vietnam, I went straight to Fort Stewart, Georgia, and went through initial entry fixed wing training, and it was fun, a lot of fun. Then from there to Fort Rucker, Alabama, where we went through instrument training, which is exactly what airline pilots go through. And then we went into a I-wing observation plane called a Bird Dog at that time for our tactical training. And from there we expected to be assigned to fixed wing units, and most of my classmates did and went to Vietnam. Some of them had never been.
Right.
But I was sent to aviation maintenance officers course at Fort Eustis, which was about 3 months long, to learn how to fix broken airplanes and do it the way the Army wants it done and keep the records. And then I went back to Fort Rucker for helicopter transition, and that was interesting because in a fixed wing, I just, you get to ride along and enjoy the countryside, and the airplane's almost flying itself.
Yeah.
But in a helicopter, you got both hands, both feet going at all the same time until you get to a level altitude.
Got to be well coordinated.
Yes. I didn't think I was ever going to be able to get it, but I did.
Okay.
And then when I went back to Vietnam, I was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division, and a Cobra unit, the 4th of the 77th Aerial Rocket Artillery. Was a Cobra that was outfitted in what they call the Hog version. Had 4 19-shot pods, 2 under each wing. So we carried 76 rockets, and they were a mixture of high explosive and flechette and white phosphorus, just the whole mix. And we supported ground operations in 101st, and with a special forces unit that was stationed at Camp Eagle with us. That was completely different. Shooting at the ground in an air-conditioned cockpit from 1,500 feet, and then compare that to shooting at somebody at 150 feet. In some respects, it was almost like playing a video game.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But it was still a great assignment. I was a commander of a maintenance detachment. I flew combat missions, I flew test flights, worked maintenance. It was very career enhancing, and because of everything that went on with it, the time over there in that 1 year passed pretty quickly.
How many, is it a limit on combat missions that you could fly?
No, there was a limit of 100 hours a month, and then you had to be cleared by a flight surgeon to say, okay, you can start over again. But I never got to 100 hours a month because somebody was always banging on me to get one more airplane off of the maintenance row and back up in the air. And it was a challenge to be able to use the talent of the young men and women who were assigned as mechanics and supply folks who were ordering the repair parts, and myself and some warrant officers that were very, very skilled test pilots.
I believe the Cobra is what you...
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Pretty interesting aircraft, isn't it?
Very. I mean, I heard stories about flying Charlie models, the UH-1 Charlie, which was a gunship.
Right.
But the Cobra was a revolutionary change in armed helicopters. And it was tandem seating. There were only 2 of you in there, as opposed to 2 folks up front and 2 gore gunners in the back, and a case of C rations and other stuff amongst the ammunition and whatnot in the back.
Yeah.
But it was very gratifying. The 101st was an absolutely wonderful outfit, and I enjoyed it.
Mike, did you ever have a mission over the place that you suffered, had the ambush, where you were ambushed earlier in a tour? Did you ever have a mission in that area or fly over?
No. The area where I was ambushed was, as I mentioned, 60, 70 miles due east of Saigon, which is down in the southern part of Vietnam.
Right.
The 101st was stationed up between Da Nang and the DMZ between South and North Vietnam. So it was,
Ways from it.
yeah,
yes.
2-3 hours maybe flight time by a C-130 from Saigon to Da Nang. So I never got a chance to fly over that area. I wouldn't mind going back, but
Yeah.
I'm sure it would be
You've
impossible
never been
to
back?
find.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I would like to. I know that there are people who do, who go all the time. I just have had so many things going on that I never made it back.
Mike, when you had some free time over there, I mean, you're busy as a maintenance officer and so forth and flying missions. What did you do? What was available? Tell us, students especially, what was available to you? You had a screen up there, watch some old movies, or what? You have a pool table? Or what?
Now, once again, we were sleeping in some quarters that started out as tents, as I described, with a wooden floor and sides. But then, as time went along, we were able to enclose them to where they were almost like a building, but it was still a very basic type structure.
Some improvement, some accommodation improvement.
When it rained, the roof didn't leak the way a tent could certainly do. That's a hard question, Tom, to be very honest with you. I don't remember doing a lot because it was
Well, you're so busy.
7 days a week,
yeah.
12 to 14 hours a day, and I had a chance to go on one R&R to Hawaii with my wife at that time, and then when I came back, I was able to get a 7-day leave almost toward the end of my tour, and I went to Australia and got to visit Sydney and see the Opera House, and the Australians are just incredibly wonderful people,
Yeah.
very welcoming, very friendly. It was almost like living in Alabama, to be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah. Mike, you were talking about your service with the 101st. I'm sure you formed lasting friendships and relationships with those in the service. Do you still stay in contact with any of your friends that you made on your tours and elsewhere, where you're stationed in your military career?
Elsewhere, yes,
Yeah.
and especially here. I've run into a number of folks that I served with in Army Aviation after Vietnam. I probably should be a member of the Vietnam Helicopter Pilot Association, but
Have a
I'm
local
not.
unit right here in town.
There
right?
is,
Right.
and but I've met and had fun with a number of folks here in Huntsville who were in Vietnam about the same time that I was. I am 77, and there's a whole bunch of folks who've already gone on to another land.
Right.
Since Vietnam, I have some friends who do live in Phoenix, and some in Texas, but we hardly ever get a chance to get together with each other. It's I'm sure it'd be gratifying. Just the geographics of it make it quite challenging.
Yeah.
But I have a number of friends here who have the same experiences that I had in Vietnam, and we're good friends, play golf, socialize, go to church.
Trying to improve that game constantly.
I'm
right?
trying hard.
Mike, there were protests against the Vietnam War, as you know, during the time that you served. Did you ever encounter any of those protests? And if you did, how did you react?
It's hard to describe without sounding like I'm patting myself on the back. But the fact of the matter was, we were there to give them the right to do what they were doing. When I came back from my second tour, I went to the Army's advanced course. I was a captain, and it's more education about what the Army is, what it does, how it does, and that was in Virginia. I saw some protests there, but after that, I went to Wichita Falls, Texas, to Midwestern University, which was the home of Senator John Tower, and there weren't very many protests there. There were some, and there were some people who were concerned about it was an ROTC assignment, and I taught ROTC. but at night I went to school, got a master's degree. And the professors, the faculty, that part of the country, not so much so. So I was spared that. What I do remember is us coming out of Vietnam at that time, and the disarray in which it seemed to happen. I remember pilots, Vietnamese helicopter pilots, taking their families and Hueys and flying out to aircraft carriers, and then they would push the helicopter off into the sea.
Right. I remember seeing pictures of that, yeah.
Yes, and pictures at the embassy where folks were trying to get inside because the Viet Cong were coming. They had already had some experience with the Viet Cong. My last day of my first tour, when I was waiting to get on the airplane to go home, the Viet Cong were already surrounding a lot of the military sites, and you probably remember the Tet Offensive of 1968.
Yeah.
I did not know it was going on until I got back to San Francisco, Travis Air Force Base, and I checked into a Holiday Inn. I had the sanctity of a 3-day drop in my tour. So I served 362 days instead of 365 days. And I said, okay, I'm going to buy an airplane ticket. I'm going to fly home to Dallas Love Field. Dad and Mom lived in Fort Worth, and I said, I'm just going to surprise them and walk up to the door. Well, when I turned on the TV in a Holiday Inn, they were talking about the Tet Offensive of 1968, and Da Nang had been overrun, Pleiku had been overrun, and I thought, oh my, Mom and Dad are seeing this. And so I didn't have any choice but to get on the phone and call and tell them I'm not there. I'm in San Francisco, I've just landed, I'm safe. Don't worry, here's my flight information, I'm going home tomorrow.
That relieved them some, I'm
very
sure.
much,
Yes.
very much so. As a matter of fact, when I was getting off the plane in Dallas Love Field at the time, and walking up the bridge, my mother came running down the bridge and just wrapped her arms around me. Are you really here? Are you really here? And you know, my dad's words come back. Your mother will be the best friend you ever have.
Right.
So that was, I'm not sure where I was going with that. I'm not sure what I answered, but those were some of the memories about protests, and no, I didn't see that many.
Tell us about, let's move on now into you served 27 years in the military, in the Army. Tell us about some of your other duty stations, some of the things that you did while in the military.
When I came out of the ROTC assignment, and that was very rewarding, teaching college kids about military ethics, military history, and map reading. Pardon me. I went to Fort Lee, Virginia, and there was an airfield there that provided aviation support, transportation support to 5 general officers that were on that little post. One of them was a NORAD commander, a 2-star, and there was a 2-star Army general that commanded the quartermaster school. Anyway, we flew all over the East Coast of the United States in fixed-wing airplanes and helicopters missions from Fort Lee,
Right.
which is in Petersburg, Virginia, just below Richmond, and fly up to Davison for many meetings in the Pentagon. And that's where I got a good deal of my flight time, 4,000 hours. And then I left there, and I have to think about this.
Conjure up some of the memories, yeah.
Left Fort, I went to Fort Rucker, Alabama,
Right.
where I was the executive officer to the deputy commander and the commanding general, and from there to commanding general staff school at Fort Leavenworth for a year, and from there to the Pentagon, affectionately known as the 5-sided foxhole. No, I picked that back. I went to the Army's VIP flight detachment from there and was there for a year and a half, flying fixed wing and the contingency mission that the unit has there, and then into the Pentagon, and from there to Korea, where I commanded a battalion, where I was commanded a battalion for 2 years, and then back to the Industrial College of the Armed Forces, Program Manager School, Aviation Logistics Support in St. Louis, not St. Louis, but here in Huntsville.
All coming back to you.
It is.
I was going to ask you, how did you wind up in Huntsville?
I was selected to be the commander of the Test Measurement and Diagnostic Equipment Support Group, which was a mixture of Army and civilians. And I came here, and that command was the command of units all over the world. Mm-hmm. They do some incredible things. To make it as simple as I can, how do you know when you go into a post office and they weigh your package that it really weighs 1.5 pounds and they're going to charge you $10 to send it?
Yeah.
Well, there are instruments that will test that machine periodically to make sure it really and truly is measuring them 1.5.
You're getting your money's worth, yeah.
You know, that is a very simplistic example, and most of us don't care and wouldn't recognize the difference between 1.5 and 2 pounds. But a Chinook helicopter will know the difference between millivolts and a Cobra and an Apache and a C-130. And so all of these precision measuring instruments are designed to make sure that the aircraft is safe, and it doesn't have to be an airplane. There are all kinds of things that depend on this. Well, I was the commander. That was my brigade level command. And then I got a call from one of my sponsors in the Pentagon and said, "We want you to come back to the Pentagon." And I'd just gotten married, second marriage, and I said, you know, I think I have a conflict of interest. My wife is a contractor who works for Boeing, and they, pardon me, she manages contracts that at that time put what was like an Airstream trailer in the back of a space shuttle.
Right, yeah.
Pardon me.
Sure.
But because McDonnell Douglas also made the Apache, and what I was going to be involved in the Pentagon was Army Aviation and Apache, that was a conflict of interest. And he said, "You just pack your bags, I'll talk to the General Counsel, and we'll figure it out." And it wasn't long after that I got a call from his XO that said, "When's Deborah going to quit her job?" I said, "I don't know, I can ask her to do that. You know, she's been working at this for 20 years and
loves her work.
She loves what she does." And so I said, "No, thank you. And when you do that, you're pretty much, your career's done." So I stayed here, got involved in foreign military sales for about 6 months. And then General Chin, who was the CG at MICOM at that time, selected me to be his chief of staff. And I was the chief of staff at MICOM until my retirement. And folks were very nice to an aviator who, for some reason, was selected to be the chief of staff at a missile command. That just didn't seem to be right.
Yeah.
But so I retired and went to work for CAS, Bill and Fred. And then finally retired altogether when I turned 70. I did some part-time stuff for a few years, but I got to use my education in terms of cost-benefit analysis and my experience in aviation maintenance to do what the Army calls business case analysis. There's several different ways to support a system.
Right.
And you do a cost-benefit analysis to figure out what's the risk, what's the benefit, what's the cost, and then make a recommendation as to the best one. So I did that, and I loved it. I had a great time with it.
You had a great tour.
I've had a wonderful life.
A wonderful life. Mike, we're running a little short on time, but I wanted to ask about your family. You mentioned your wife. She's still working.
She is. She
good.
is the deputy program manager for THAAD, Foreign Military Sales, to the United Arab Emirates. And if you've been watching the news lately, the terrorists in Yemen have been firing some missiles and whatnot. And she's, as a matter of fact, she wanted to come and sit today, but she's in a classified meeting in the office on what's going on and what's the next thing to do, so forth. And she said, "Go, do good, and then we'll look at it later."
Now tell us, I want you to tell us about your, how many sons do you have?
I have one son.
One son, and he served, is it 5 or 6 tours?
6. He was in the Army as an enlisted man for 20 years, retired. He was 3 years through a computer science degree over here at Athens State when he decided, I need to go see what's out there to make sure I understand what it is I'm wanting to do.
Yeah.
He got involved in military intelligence and ended up being assigned as a special operations military intelligence analyst, and went to Iraq twice with the 82nd, and then to Afghanistan 4 times with the 7th Special Forces out of Bragg.
I know you're very proud of him.
Very much so, yes, sir. He's retired now, and he's still doing military intelligence.
Does he live here in town?
No, they live in Virginia.
I see, okay.
And I have a daughter who works with civilian personnel that lives in Hazel Green, and she has a son, my grandson, who is a student at Calhoun and is a medical tech at Huntsville Hospital, and his sister is a nurse at Huntsville Hospital, and they both work surgical recovery, and I'm very proud of both of them.
Are you teaching him how to play golf?
No, we have played together, but he played football in high school. I couldn't convince him. You know, golf and basketball are really, really good. Matter of fact, he's an inch taller than I am, and I'm 6'4".
Yeah.
But I couldn't get him interested. He, I guess
maybe later.
Football still draws more girls than basketball. So, but he's pretty busy doing both of those items, and we get to spend some time together, but never enough time on a golf course.
Just a couple more questions here, Mike. We always ask our veterans that we interview that have spent as much time as you have in the military, what advice would you give to young people who may be watching this interview and are considering a career in the military? What advice would you give them?
I go back to something I said earlier, and that is whatever you decide to do, don't just go about it half-hearted. Give it everything that you've got. The military is going to ask you to do a lot. It's, in most cases, very, very well organized. That will teach you what they want you to do, what they need for you to do, and you can figure that out before you even go in. Is there something here for me? If I'm interested in doing this in my life, do you have something similar to that in the military? I would ask that question first.
Right.
And then be prepared to go all over the world with your family.
Right.
If you stay for 20 years and you move more than 20 times, that's pretty much average.
Final question here, Mike, and we always ask our veterans this question as well. You were inducted into the Madison County Military Hall of Heroes in 2021. What did that mean to you? That's
hard to put into words, Tom, and primarily because it had been so long from the time of the incident in May of 1967 until somebody talked to me about it and said, you need to consider being recognized for this. It means a lot to me personally, but I'm sure that it would mean as much to my mom, my dad, as it did to me because of their background with the military. They're both buried at Fort Sam Houston National Cemetery. 2 wonderful parents, teachers, mentors, love-giving parents. I was so very fortunate in that respect. And so I'm proud of it because of them and what they taught me. And in a way, it is a way of saying thank you. I could have said, no, I think I'm just going to keep this under the covers. And then I said, no, let's just go ahead and talk about it. And this is the second interview that I've had. I'm fortunate that both interviewers are people of your caliber, your stature, and have an appreciation for what happened instead of a skeptical attitude, if you will.
Yeah.
And so that makes me appreciate it even more. The Hall of Heroes, there are several Congressional Medal of Honor winners in this organization, and that was more than an organization in that Hall of Fame. And for me to be associated with them is an honor to me. I can't put that into words.
Well, Mike, it's well-deserved recognition. I want to mention that, okay? And I want to thank you for participating in our oral history interview series and allowing us to preserve your military experience for the people of this community. And thank you, sir, for your service to our country.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate being here, and thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it. Now, if you'd like more information regarding this interview, please contact the Madison County Military Heritage Commission website at mcmhc.us. I'm Tom Kennemer. Thank you for being with us.